Welcome to Akron Buzz, everyone. I'm Tom Wolgren. I'm here today with the guest, Lew LaGuardia Sr. Lew, I'm a Hogan graduate. I graduated in class of 2014. You were the first graduating class of 1958. A lot has obviously changed. What was Hogan like when you were first there?
Well, actually I was in the second class, but the first class, I was in the first class with 4 years in that building.
Right.
The class before me,
the first freshman to senior class.
Yes, freshman, senior at the present building. The difference, of course, when we started, they were still building the school. For the first 6 months that I went there, we carried all of our books to class and home because they didn't have lockers in yet.
Right.
And they sort of, as they moved along, but it was small. The classes were small in comparison. I think 110 students, but it was more basic. They did have classes for pre-college and but more basic than it is today, smaller in comparison. Many of the teachers were brothers. Mm-hmm. I think Brothers of Holy Cross,
yep,
I believe it
absolutely.
Was. And being the first year, there was only a couple hundred kids, boys there. It was all boys.
Right.
Add that, which was different too. It was an all-boys school at the time.
Now, Hogan, when my sister went, all of my older sisters went to Hogan. My younger brother went to Hogan. My younger brother and sister will also go to Hogan. When my sister first started there wasn't a set dress code. And then they switched over to having the polos and the khaki pants and all that jazz. Was there a dress code when you were there?
Well, there was a dress code, but the dress code was you had to wear, remember this is all boys at the time, you had to wear a sport coat and a tie.
There's a recent Hogan graduate that I'm quite close with, or not recent, but a Hogan graduate that I'm quite close with. His name is Joe Sig Firth.
Okay.
And he talked about how when they wore the blazers and everything, he said all those guys would hang them up in the locker at the end of the day, and then they put them on the next day they came back, and he said by the end of the school year, everyone's were just sweaty and gross and nasty. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I guess we didn't, yeah, and that's true. We didn't have actually, it could be any sport coat. It wasn't even a blazer.
Yeah.
And I remember by the time I used the same sport coat for almost all 4 years.
Yeah.
So the elbows were worn out pretty bad, and you were pretty gross, but you never took them home.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if my mother would have seen it, she'd had heart failure. So you kept it at school. You're right.
Absolutely. Now, were there the brothers there? The brothers that were there when I was there. Usually really chilled and laid back. Do you have any crazy brother stories? Because I've had several brothers as teachers when I was there. For example, Brother Ed, he's the chemistry teacher there, and he's famous for he had a water bottle, and if you were misbehaving, he'd squirt the water bottle at you. Is there any? What's your craziest Hogan brother story?
Well, we did have one brother. And you got to realize too, the brothers weren't a heck of a lot older than the students. They were fairly young, probably in their mid-20s, and you're teaching young boys and men that are 16, 17 years old. So I remember one brother, Jerome, he got into a wrestling match with a couple of the other guys trying to show him he was stronger than them. It was right in front of the daggone offices, in the middle of the school. And they wrestled, and a couple other guys got involved, and I think another brother got involved, and it was a camaraderie thing in a way, but a lot of fun. But youth versus not so far removed from being youth. So that was the way the attitude was there. Here again, small at the beginning, and the brothers were involved. I remember one brother, I happened to be in the physics class. I was more interested in jokes at the time, so I was reading 1,000 Jokes, and it was a big book. And brother, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Brother Noel, I could be wrong which one it was, but came up and asked for the book, and he promptly hit me over the head with it. Yeah. And it was during class. So it was a loose type, but they were good. They tried to do their best, and it was a great attitude at that time.
Well, Lew, it was great talking to you.
Okay.
Great having a chance to meet you.
Thank you very much for your
Thanks so
time.
much for tuning in today, guys. Once again, I'm Tom Bulgren. Thanks so much for watching.